Dr. Anand Menon, Director of UK in a Changing Europe. I mean, the B word, Brexit, always in the mix, Anand, still, and it will be, won't it, for some time?
Yeah, hi Sheila. I think the way to look at it is that Brexit is a cause of the problems that businesses are facing, but it's not the cause. There are many causes. I mean, and in that sense, the Prime Minister is right. The primary issue we're facing at the moment are the things related to the cost of living, soaring inflation, soaring energy bills. But in the background, Brexit is making all those things slightly worse. So I think it's wrong to simply dismiss it as not being anything, not being part of the reasons for the things that businesses are going through.
Yeah, when he said, I voted Brexit, Joe, he's obviously communicated with Joe before, I voted Brexit, I know she disagrees with me, I think it's the right thing to do. I mean, there's a lot to pick at there, isn't there, when you look at the state of our economy and how Brexit is playing its part in that?
Yeah, absolutely. And, cynically, one of the things to pick through is the fact that if you're the leader of the current Conservative Party, that's what you have to say. What Boris Johnson did back in December 2019 was create a coalition of Leave voters that brought him to power. So Rishi Sunak can't really say anything else at the moment for political reasons. But the truth of the matter is that whether it comes to staff shortages where Brexit plays an impact because of the ending of freedom of movement, or inflation, whether there have been studies by places like the LSE that show that there's been an inflationary impact of Brexit on things like food, it's hard to deny that Brexit has made things worse. And it's also worth bearing in mind that this is liable to get worse before it gets any better, because, of course, in October, the government says it's going to bring in a whole new raft of controls at the border that it should have brought in by now because of Brexit, and that's going to make it more expensive and more difficult to import certain foodstuffs, and that's going to have an impact as well.
That was postponed, wasn't it? Is that the stuff you're talking about?
I think
there?
Repeatedly postponed is probably more accurate. Okay. It's been postponed time and time again, but they're promising to bring some of the measures in this autumn.
And will that include human beings trying to move between borders as well, as in people just travelling?
Well, I mean, those rules are already in place, and as it is, we're allowing Europeans to come in using the electronic gate. So actually, for people coming into the country, legitimately, that's absolutely fine. The problem with people is that without freedom of movement, we used to get a lot of EU citizens coming here to do relatively poorly paid jobs in the hospitality sector or agriculture, fruit picking and things like that. A lot of those people no longer qualify for this points-based visa system. And so in those sectors, what you're seeing is labour shortages, partly because we're not getting that flow of Europeans in that we used to have. I mean, there are lots of other reasons as well. I mean, a lot of European countries are facing labour shortages too, but I think it would be naive to say that Brexit is playing no role whatsoever there.
Yeah, and how long... I mean, you can't say the exact time, obviously, but do you get the sense now that when it comes to Brexit, because you and I have spoken about it many times prior to it and since it, that here we are, it's here now, it's how we're living now for however long that is, maybe forever, that it's just going to become a kind of semi-spoken part of our political landscape?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's baked in two ways, in the sense that the economic impact isn't going to go away. And, without freedom of movement, we're always going to have a slightly clunkier, bureaucratic visa-based system for bringing people in. So our labour market won't be as responsive to economic demands as it was when Europeans could simply come over here and do jobs. And it's also baked in, I think, because neither of the big two political parties is questioning it. So for the foreseeable future, at least, businesses are going to have to learn to live with it. And, as your previous interviewer was saying, it is primarily small businesses that seem to be suffering, because whilst actually on some measures our import and export figures with the European Union are okay, what we have seen is a significant decrease in trading relations with the EU, which means there are far fewer firms responsible for those imports and exports figures. And the conclusion is that a lot of smaller firms have found the costs prohibitively high to be doing trade with the EU.
Thank you very much, Anna. Good to talk to you again. Professor Anand Menon, Director of UK in a Changing Europe.